Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk about a topic related to pursuing your passion. So if you're interested, stay tuned. So the topic of pursuing our passion, and that is a subject that has intrigued me for the longest time. I'm somebody that has constantly had my ear to the ground about issues related to living an authentic life, living a true life. And I'm very able to multitask, so whatever I'm doing, I'll always be listening to something in the background, and that is literally my whole life. And I discovered the self-help category of books, and I started reading books on self-help, first more geared towards religion, and then moved on to just secular books about self-help, eventually business. So I've always had an interest in that field, and I've constantly been on the search for the true meaning of life and the reason we do, what motivates us, what is the propelling force that pushes us forward in all of our pursuits. Now, there's a concept that I had said a lot when I was looking for a career change and I was looking at options. And there was this thing that used to come up from almost every thought leader. They would say something to the effect that you know what you want to do, you just don't want to admit it, but you know what it is, you're just pretending not to know as an excuse. And that used to irk me. Nothing used to annoy me more than that, because I felt like it wasn't true. I just felt like that is the most unfair analysis, to bring it all down to you don't want to know, you're afraid, and all these things they used to say. Now, fast forward to where I am right now. When I started the channel, I had no idea what I was going to do with it. Well, I had an inkling, but then again, I wasn't sure. I just said, get started. You'll notice my first video was a video titled Just Begin, Just Start. I'll link it right here. And the video was talking about just get started, because if you think you'll wait until you know for sure, that time is never going to come. Now, I had read a book by Jeff Goins, who I quote from time to time. Every pivotal moment in my life, his name will come up. He's been very instrumental in speaking into my life. So he had just written a book about the art of work. I've said that in another previous video. Maybe I've posted it, or maybe I'm going to post it. But he had written in there, and he said something to the effect that just begin, and as you keep doing, it's going to unfold. So that's really what I started when I started the channel. And I thought, I do want to get into fashion, but it didn't feel like it was likely I was going to do that. The fashion industry had changed, everything that was going on in the marketplace. I felt a little bit lost. I couldn't place myself. I couldn't find my footing. And so I was thinking, well, I just have to get started, and then eventually I will figure out what it is. And that's pretty much how it's happened. But what I find most shocking is that it still came back to fashion. And I am so surprised, because I started out in fashion. And now it turns out that all those thought leaders I used to listen to, as annoying as I found them, it turns out they were actually right. They say you know what it is, you just don't want to get started, and you know what it is, or you're terrified that you're not going to succeed, or you know what it is, and you're not disciplined enough to get it off the ground. There were so many things I used to say, and I used to think, heck no, if I knew, I would get started. And to be honest, at that time, I just figured I don't know. I haven't thought I've known until just a few months ago. So that's the first time I realized, okay, I do want to do fashion. But it felt like a brand new idea, and not something that had been simmering at the back of my mind for a very long time. When I left finance, I said I'm going to try and get back into fashion or some creative type of field. And so fashion, it's ended up being right now. I mean, I'm flying. Fashion is what I'm building in terms of what I do in my free time. And that's another thing about me. I've always done something in my free time. That's probably a whole other video I shall do. So it turns out they were right all along, that I knew what I wanted to do, and I just didn't dare. I wasn't conscious. If I knew, I wasn't conscious. But now, like they say, life is understood backwards. When I think back, I realized that I probably knew. So, of all the reasons they would give, the reason we don't pursue a purpose, we don't pursue a passion, thought leaders will say it's because you don't want to, because you're afraid you'll fail, because you don't have the discipline, because you don't have the know-how, you don't have the finances. For me, I'd say the real reason, now that I've analyzed it, was because I was afraid I would fail. Heck, I'm still afraid I'll fail, but at some point in your life it becomes imperative that you live an authentic life. So that's where I am. But now that I realize that I always knew they were right, you always know what it is you want to do, I thought I have to share that information, because I know some of you are here and you have passions and you have a niggling, you have an idea that maybe it might be, but you discard it and say, no, it's not. It's possible that if you actually sat down and jotted down everything you're thinking about and why you're thinking that's not the case, you'll be surprised and find that I guess you knew all along. Like, it turns out I knew all along. Now, in retrospect, I realized I didn't want to do it because, like, I think I've said in a previous video that I was raising my child and I had to make a sensible choice. I didn't take fashion seriously because it just came naturally to me. I literally after one class, I ran with it. Every other class after that was just correction, improvement. But it was in my blood, creating my designs and putting them together, the construction of the garment, the fit. These things just came naturally to me, and maybe that's why I didn't take it seriously. But in retrospect now, I realized the main deterrent, the main reason I didn't go for it is just I was fearful. I was fearful that I had done it successfully before. I found myself in a brand new environment and I didn't know that I could recreate the same success. And I was haunted by thoughts of not making it as big as that possibility was too scary, because I do remember distinctively, I remember thinking that. I remember thinking, if I'm not guaranteed that if I go into fashion, I'm going to make it big, then I'm not going to go with fashion. But that's just it. Life doesn't have guarantees. So that's what I'm finding out about passion. I've read so many people that actually say you do know, there's no question that you know. Now, that you know it consciously or subconsciously is a whole other matter, but these are things we can reveal to ourselves if we just journaled about it, if we thought it through. Because for me, it's a full circle moment to think that I've been searching for what to do. And I've gone right back to what I started with, fashion. I don't think that I would have come to that realization any other way. The journey is what the journey is. You can certainly help yourself to make it less painful, but it's never going to be a straight line. There's always going to be zigzags, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. There's going to be left, right, center. But eventually, if you keep pursuing, if you keep persisting, you eventually are able to identify what it is that you want to do. So I hope this video helps you. I hope you'll take some time and write on a piece of paper or write in your journal just to try and figure out, to bring your subconscious to the forefront so that you're not missing out on life in terms of what you want to pursue for yourself and for your future. So I'll see you in the next video, and thank you so very much for watching this one. Bye. That's just it. Life doesn't have guarantees. That's the hobby.